Okay, good morning, my good friends. This is Roger Spur, Mudfossil University, with a little unhappiness in the tone of my voice this morning. It's always good to be right, but in this case, I wish I was not right. This is what's happening in Guatemala. Now, what is happening here is the earth is collapsing into this gigantic, enormous sinkhole. Now, what I want you to look at is the lines of the different layers of what they would call sediment. All right. What a geologist would say, oh, well, there was a flood, and then there was an earthquake, and then there was another flood, and then there was sediment, and so forth. Well, I'm here to tell you that that's just not correct. The earth itself is alive, and we are now killing it, and I don't know if there's any way to save it. These are layers of tissue. We are doing research all around the world right now, and we have sites that there is no question these are layers of biological tissue. And we have taken all of the fluids from the earth that is the earth's biological network of moving fluids through the earth, water, debris, all of that. Now, I'm going to show you something I did 6 years ago. This is in Guatemala, and this is what I reported on 6 years ago. And I tried to be as nice as I could be, hoping somebody would pay attention. Never happened. And every bit of my research, the same thing. It's denialist society we live in right now, and this is the result. All right, this goes back to 2015, August 2015. I had just spoken with the Russians. Somebody put this up here, Ancient History and Mystery. I spoke directly to the Russians about this problem. They contacted me because I was doing the research on it. Now, here's what I had to say 5, 6 years ago, whatever it was.
Yeah, hello. I'm coming to you today with some information that I stumbled across. I'm not an expert in anything. I study fossils in deep earth geology and, how petroleum is sublimated out and the processes of the transitions of rocks and things like that in the earth. It's just sort of boring stuff. But I found some very, very interesting stuff. And as a result of that, I started to investigate how the earth is creating these things and what these things are and so forth. And what you see here are blue holes. And these blue holes are all over the earth. And those holes,
I just want to make a point of saying right now, think in terms of focusing your mind on what you just saw, the collapse of the earth into that enormous sinkhole. Now, inside that sinkhole, you saw bands and layering, literally layering of tissue. And that is what all of these have, because these are the digesters for the earth. Not only are they in the ocean, they're everywhere. And the debris sinks through these holes and is literally digested by the earth, brought back up as fluids that we can drink, water and so forth. We have destroyed that system.
come to find out, and I have the supporting evidence, and I'm sure it's correct. I'd certainly like to have it looked at. It could be wrong, but I'd like to see somebody come up with a contradictory, factual disagreement. And
this is when I was trying to be nice, and then I had to get real nasty, and now people just see me as a nasty person. There was just no getting around any way to present this to have anybody take any consideration of, and it still is not being considered.
And if it is right, it becomes critically important. Now, these holes, I believe, are the digesters for the earth. Those are the things that feed the earth, and the earth, I'm pretty sure, is alive. I know it sounds crazy. I sound like I'm way out there, but I have literal physical evidence to show that the earth is alive. And these holes digest food. I'm going to show you dives where they go right through, and it's identical to a digestive system. Now, these are what's happening in Florida and Russia. These are those blue holes dying. Now, these were underneath the tundra, and seen, but they still are the digesters. Now, as the tundra recedes, it's just caving in because the digesters are dying. Methane gas is coming up from the decomposition of the Earth, of the life of the Earth, is what I'm saying. Now, this may not be, don't panic. I mean, nobody's going to even pay attention probably, but certainly you wouldn't panic about this because we don't know. We don't know what's going on here. But there's the ones in Florida are virtually identical to this. Virtually identical, and they're gigantic. And this is happening all over the place. And they're very bizarre formations. Look at these holes here. That is vascular entries into the earth from the digester or the other way around, I'm not sure, but they're vascular entries. And this exact same structure is seen elsewhere, and I will show you that. And it's hard to overlook, and if it is true, it's something that needs to be looked at. It may not be anything, it may be something. This is in the Florida sinkholes, and they call them sinkholes, but look at that. That is exactly circular.
That, I believe, is in Guatemala, too. Now, you're going to see why I got in trouble here, because I talked about these same things on Mars. And this is what got me, they just threw me in the woods after that. I had 0 hits, and it was nothing but the guy's crazy and he's a flat earth guy. I hate, this flat earth thing is just insanity. The earth spins in space. At one time, it may have been an accretion disk spinning, and then it condensed into a ball. That's possible. I can't discount that. But right now, the space station's there, the earth is spinning. But they put me in that realm that made me just a laughing stock.
These things they're not like cracks and divots and things like that. Look at that thing. These are houses around here. This was a living blue hole.
Oh no, I guess that's Florida
at some point, and now it's.
Florida's going to do the same thing that's happening everywhere. I mean, it's getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. You cannot stop this. The only reason that Florida hasn't completely collapsed is because it's so dense amount of water in the areas that surround it. So it's probably still being, floating. Basically, that's what the surface of the earth is. It's floating on these digesters.
It's collapsing. Now, I have a theory that the reason these things are collapsing is we've taken so much stuff out of the earth, something has to give somewhere. And I believe that's what's going on here. Now, is that killing the earth? And I have almost absolute unimpeachable evidence that the earth is alive. All right, look at the structures in this, the stripes, the different dark and light stripes. And
that's what you're seeing off down in Guatemala when it collapsed. There's like a layer of tissue across the top, just like there is on your body. And if you take off all of the fluids inside your body, the damn thing's going to collapse. But you're going to see the layers of tissue, the membranes and so forth. That's what you see in every single one of these sinkholes, 100%. I just did one on sinkholes the other day, and you can see the interstitium balls, the balls that are line the tissue layer of the top where the skin can move and comes back to where the balls anchor it. There is no question about this anymore. This is a disaster that just is being avoided, not missed, avoided, just like everything else it seems now.
The oxides, the red oxides up in there and everything. Now look at this.
This is what got me in trouble.
This is the same material, and this is on Mars. And look at what's in that material. You see what's up there, that spacecraft? That's coming out from this rock up here. And I'm saying, and I'm going to show you in my videos, that this is a vascular entryway, and this is arterial vessels that are supplying blood to this tissue, which is muscular tissue. This red stuff, all that dust, is iron oxide from the blood that has dried. Mars is dead, and you should see the pictures in here. Go to this site, Journey to the Journey to the Surface of the Mars. It will blow you away. They have all kinds of pictures of pyramids and skulls, and there's absolutely no question it was alive. I think it's dead now. Anyway, this is my statements, and we need to look at what we have here on Mother Earth because we don't want to go this way.
I'm telling you, I've done a bunch of them on Mars now. Now they're up running around on Mars saying, I wonder if there's any life up there. There's blood vessels sticking out. There's sarcomeres. There's tissue. There's red blood cells. There's tendon balls. There's anthesis points. There's every single bit of life that you can imagine is right sticking in their face, and they don't see it because it's just gigantic. It's too spectacular to consider. If you're a PhD or somebody's educated, you're too smart to think it's possible.
So that's the case. All right, you've seen the spacecraft. My statement is that if this hole was tipped sideways and all of this eroded away from that hole, you would still see these vascularization tubes sticking out, and that's what's happened in that crab. All right, this is a little concerning. 20 baby craters just started popping up near the giant craters in Siberia. This is the area in Siberia that's having this issue, right? All right, this is...
All right, now I remember what happened. I posted on this in the summer of 2015. The Russians got a hold of me in September and said, what's going on? What do you think's going on? I said, you got trouble. I mean, there's nothing you can do about it. And there is nothing. And it is just an absolute disaster there. And I scared him. I could tell his voice was like, I said, there is nothing you can do, man. The case is closed. Unless you stop doing all the things you're doing, fracking the earth and sucking everything out of earth. If you could do that, maybe we got a chance. You don't do that, the case is closed. And that was the last I heard from him.
This is an article by Brianne Kirby. Very, very nicely done. And she is exploring in a dive in a blue hole. And she says, I'd imagine that I was a tiny microbe moving through the gut of some impossibly large and fantastic beast, because she really literally was. And then she goes on to thinking of the specific topology of the blue hole, specific topology of the human gastrointestinal system, the mouth to the anus. Now, I have all of this stuff documented, and I have all of this stuff on other videos. I have 9 videos that I'm explaining this, and I'm explaining the foliations of the earth, the fabric of the earth. The earth is alive, and there's virtually no question about it. So something's got to be looked at. This is a deep blue hole dive by Jonathan Bird. Jonathan Bird's Blue World. Very, very good guy, and excellent on public TV. And here he goes. Listen carefully.
The bottom looks like it's sand, but it's actually a deep layer of silt. While Tim hovers high above the bottom to keep from kicking up silt, I perform a little experiment.
Listen
Down
to
on the
this.
bottom, I plunge my arm into the
This is what our
silt up
mother
to my
is eating.
shoulder, and it's even deeper than that. This is a layer of decomposing leaves and other organic stuff. The decomposition creates hydrogen sulfide, a deadly
Digestion
gas that
juice.
smells like rotting eggs. The water is saturated with hydrogen sulfide, and I can smell it in the water that seeps around the edge of my mask.
We all know that smell. All right, this is the final part I'm going to show you
Blue
about.
hole connects through a vast labyrinth of
That
caves to
is
the
the
inlet
digestive
blue hole.
system.
And as we emerge into the open ocean, something looks weird. When the tide goes out, all the water from inside the caves gets sucked out into the ocean, bringing with it silt and hydrogen sulfide from the inland blue holes.
Poop.
It forms clouds near the bottom with a distinct line between the clear ocean water above and the silty hydrogen sulfide layer below.
Check out the mucus
What
from
you're seeing
mucus
here are the
membrane.
decomposing remains of forest vegetation which have passed entirely through the caves and out into the ocean.
Sounds like digestive
Everywhere I
system to
find what
me.
look like strands of mucus floating in the water.
Same
It's
stuff
most
in ours.
likely mucus secreted by the coral in response to the caustic hydrogen sulfide.
No, it isn't.
It's stuck on everything, including this gorgonian, which has closed all its polyps to protect itself from the hydrogen sulfide. As the tide carries the toxic water away, the corals will go back to normal. Finally, we head back to the boat. Tim and Mike
That's
hang
Mother
on
Earth
the
eating.
anchor line.
All right, that's what it
Yeah,
was.
hello,
Okay, this was, I did a 9-part series on the Earth being destroyed. I mean, literally destroyed. And this one said the surface of the Earth is unstable. Now, I remember this video. It starts off going through the sinkholes and all that. And then we come into the Red Sprites, and then what I call catastrophic sinkhole collapse, which is atomic sinkhole collapse. And what does that mean? That means that the surface of the sinkhole is coated with a fabric, and they're absolutely perfectly round. Now, if that plug dropped as a plug down onto all of these atomic gases, and when I say atomic gases, I mean methanes, I mean hydrocarbons, hydrogens. Hydrogen is an atomic explosive gas. You compress it like that, and you get shoots of spikes of well, you're going to see. And that's what I thought was going on here, and I'm thinking, holy smokes, this whole place is collapsing. However, then I ran into Red Sprites, and I think this might be a Red Sprite event where the electricity, there's so much electricity in our atmosphere that normally would come to ground because it normally wants to get sucked to ground. There's so much electricity in the atmosphere that there's so many electrons being forced in, the Earth can't take them anymore. They spit back up as these red sprites shooting up into space. They don't come down white like they do to Earth because they're trying to get away, so their wavelength is not in the the extreme spectrum, it's in the red spectrum. That's why they come as red. You can see blue sprites too. Now, listen to this, watch this.
It collapsed. And that's happening all around the world.
That's what I thought these were sinkhole collapses. Now this is a nightmare.
Of a fiery sinkhole collapse, and I have it's online. I have a video about it called "Sinkhole Fiery Collapse" Part 1 and 2. But if you see the glow of that sinkhole biogases, those are hydrogens, and they're the most intense, powerful atomic forces on the face of the Earth, and they're powerful. And I have a whole presentation about why when they shoot up into the air they actually combust as a ball of gases.
I'm going to be doing a video on combustion. They don't understand combustion. Why does straw burn, in a certain heat range, and why is this like that? I mean, look at that thing. What's the difference? Why? I don't think scientists understand combustion. I'm not kidding you. It's just unbelievable what is not understood. They say, oh, the oxygen, the carbon dioxide and all this stuff, and this splits, and it does this and it does that. Well, why is there one that is so extremely intense light, and some that are just glow a little bit, little candle flames? Well, a lot to think about there.
So anyway, what's happening? All right, this is all related to sinkholes, and the surface of the Earth is collapsing. I'm just sorry to say it, but that's what's happening. Now, these are loud booms they're hearing. No idea what causes them, they don't. But these are happening deep in the Earth, and the surface of the Earth is collapsing due to fracking and putting poisons in the Earth. And
these are happening deep underground, a lot of them. So we don't see them, but we can hear them. And there's a lot of towns that are screaming sounds like, and they're saying, what the hell? I mean, I'm talking loud. I did a lot of research on this. I'm not guessing at any of this.
All the acids they're ingesting in there and all the fluids we remove from the Earth. It's a cellular structure, and the weight of the Earth is collapsing these cells now. And when they collapse, they can create photon pulses. They're seeing them all around the Earth. And they're actually shooting out like a Roman candle. Watch it. This is...
You see, this is the
rumblings.
Dad, did you do that one?
And they're happening all over the Earth, and they're not being looked at. Science is just trying to figure out how to exploit the Earth, not how to fix it. And they're happening, and I've talked to people all around, and they're happening everywhere. So it's not it's the fluid removals. Look, the dog knows it. Anyway, that's what's going on. All right, look at this. This is an explosion. They're calling it a volcanic explosion.
Did you see that wave of excitation flowing? Just move. This is interesting because I haven't watched this for a long time. All right, watch as the breakout. Here's what's happening here. Underneath this is biomolecules. And what does that mean? Biological. What does that mean? It means that when you compress them under some form of a structure that encapsulates them, they fester and they create spontaneous combustion. Just like if you take and you put biological material under some mat and just force it to stay there, it will all of a sudden combust. And that's what happens here. And when it does, the methane gases, which I'm talking about, and I call them atomic gases because they're hydrocarbons, hydrogens. Hydrogens are the atomic gases. You're going to see a pew. That's the first bam of all those gases expanding. And that's what hydrogen does.
All right, look at this. This is an explosion.
Boom, see
They're
him?
calling it a volcanic explosion. I think it's more of a sinkhole explosion.
That's a sinkhole collapsing and exploding up.
And they're going to get popped with that explosion.
You hear that slam? Loud booms.
See, they don't have a clue what causing this.
Is digging deeper tonight. He finds the booms have been heard all over the past few years in different parts of the country.
Many people who live in Westwater, including me, are wondering.
This is in Rhode Island.
This is 2014, 2015 is when I did this video, the summer of 2015. And the Japanese got a hold of me, the Russians got a hold of me. I talked to a few people, not one single person in the United States contacted me, and that's the only ones I tried to contact. Everybody that was talking about it, I said, here, look at, please listen to this. Never got one response.
So this is all over the country.
Mysterious boom.
Anyway, they just don't understand it, but that's the collapse of the surface of the Earth.
And I'm going to tell you something right now. Wherever they're hearing those mysterious booms, you better get ready because sooner or later, your house may end up down in one of those boom holes.
Okay, these were very, very strange noises, and they are the sounds of the collapse of the structure of the surface of the Earth. And they were heard in New York.
And the United Kingdom.
In the United Kingdom. The same
what they
exact time. Now listen to this.
That's a fracture. The whole thing is crushing itself.
Those are biodigesters crushing. Very strange. In both places at the exact identical time, and it's never been explained.
It's very mysterious what could cause such loud bangs that they traveled this far. For them to be so out of place.
Never been explained.
And
these are sounds coming from the Earth. And they're hearing these in multiple places, not just here. They sound like sirens.
You see this? This is 2013. Now, I was doing this research for quite a number of years, trying to figure out what the hell is going on. And I came to the conclusion in 2015, we got an issue here that we need to look at. And it's just been avoided. And then when I brought it to the forefront in 2015, like I say, a few people got a hold of me, and then it was almost like, don't talk about this anymore. Stop this. And then I got attacked by, the guy's a flat earth guy, he's an insane person, and that, I think, came from academia to shut me off. I don't know who was doing that. I don't know who was doing it, but it destroyed my channel. I had to shut everything down, and because it was just, it turned it into just nonsense. So I don't know whether that was just to crush my exposure to of this. You know, I don't know. I can't believe we don't want to save the Earth. I can't believe anybody doesn't want to save the Earth. But I just don't know anymore. I really don't.
And totally unexplained. It's like the crushing sound of a beer can to the surface of the Earth.
Now, I want to make another point. We are making a total mistake about what we think is causing global warming. Global warming is not because CO2 blankets the Earth. It's because CO2 expands the envelope that is crushing the Earth. That envelope just doesn't dissipate and go flying off into space by itself. No, we are spinning in a soup of magnetic particles which are coming from the sun and every luminous source. They're called photons, electrons, small bits and pieces of nucleuses and particles. Solar wind. We know it's there. We're scrubbing through it just like our tires scrubbing on a pavement. The bigger the tire gets, the scrubber it gets on the pavement. The hotter it gets, the smokier it gets, the crushier it gets. We're being crushed now because we're expanding the envelope with gases that are from combustion. Yes, absolutely. But it's not that we can't let they just go flowing off to space. No, they are being forced into us. It's not what they think. So trying to mitigate CO2, that's fine. And we do want to stop combustion, 100%, I agree. But it's not the blanket. And if they think they put particles in space to just make the electrons coming towards us bounce back out, that's not going to happen. They're going to interact with those particles and heat those particles up to where right now out here around our Earth, the Earth is here, out here is 2,700 degrees because it's scrubbing in these particles trying to crush their way in. Scrub, scrub, scrub. Well, guess what? That's gases to particles come to electrons. Well, if we put chunks of flakes of things out here, they're going to around the Earth all day long. And we were going to destroy our atmosphere by putting particles out there. Not supposed to be there. Gases, yes. Gases will absorb light frequencies. Particles will smash into them and create enormous amounts of heat. We need to have a dialogue. We need a discussion about why we're doing the things we're doing. It's just totally backwards. All right, now if that didn't scare you, then you got no scare in you, because I'm going to tell you right now, it is scary. And the only way out of this is to create a new industry. That means new jobs for everybody. Not just closing up everything, everybody goes home, but we got to get rid of doing this stuff to the Earth. We just got to stop. Now, right here is what is considered raw electrons. Raw electrons. That means they're 200 times more powerful than they were than when they started. I think that's free energy. There's obviously extremely more energy here than there was when it came in. That is what's called free energy. 200 times minimum. I don't come with just complaints. I come with what I think it could possibly be helpful solutions. I don't know if it's possible to save the Earth now. But I can tell you one thing for damn sure. We keep doing what we're doing. It's case closed. My kids will never see a natural death. This Earth will not last too much longer. You see what's happening. It's everywhere. Look up sinkholes. Just look them up. 5, 6 years ago, I knew we were in for an absolute disaster. And sure enough, she's here. I hate being right every time.